Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Open Agenda. With us in the house from Parsonsburg, Mr. Joe White.
Thank you.
Welcome back, sir. And from Salisbury, another Joe Scafino. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, morning.
Yeah. So it is budget season, obviously. Always interesting, always dynamic, kind of a fluid situation depending on the topic within the budget and the priorities. There's been several work sessions the last month or so that the public hopefully has watched, but of course we're going to be here today to break it down and sort of distill some of the key points. There are some big things that have come up that are priorities and concerns, and if it's okay, Joe, I'd like to bring in Jim Atkins on and get into some of the specifics of what has been discussed at those sessions. I'll have him talk about it with Joe. And then can we bring you back on to kind of give your general perspective as a city resident as to the process?
Yep.
Cool. Joe, you cool hanging out with us?
Great, yeah.
We're talking about budgets and dollars and cents. I know that excites you. So
it doesn't excite me, but I'm happy to do it.
We don't have calculators, but we have you and Jim Atkins. That's all right. Thank you so much. So stick around, and we'll be right back with the next segment of Open Agenda. See you soon. Welcome back to Open Agenda. With us in the house are our budget gurus, among other things.
We don't have our pocket protectors on.
Not yet. Not yet.
Calculators.
No, but you have all been seen using them in the past, so that's good enough for me. So from Ardella, Mr. Jim Atkins, welcome, sir. And of course from Parsonsburg, Mr. Joe White.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming back, everybody. So it is budget season. Yep. We are in the thick of it. It's my understanding that there's been at least 3 specific budget sessions and then a recap. There was a session on May 11th, 12th, 15th, and then a recap on the 22nd. And they've all focused on specific aspects of the budget.
Good morning, Pam Olin, Finance Director. So I provided some information late yesterday to the council in regards to some outstanding questions. So the outstanding items that I had from the last meeting was fire, executive, the surveyor, the new positions in Public Works, and solid waste. That was the outstanding items. Oh, and Verizon building. So whichever one council is interested in tackling first, we can go from there. And if there's any additional other questions, then I can attempt to answer them.
Can we maybe briefly talk about, or maybe broadly talk about, what's the general trend line of those meetings and the status, and what questions should the public be asking, or what things should the public be aware of as these discussions have developed?
Well, each of these sessions, they're just public work sessions, so there's no opportunity to speak, but it is a great chance to go look and listen, whether you can be there in person or on PAC 14. They usually come up a couple days later.
Yeah.
They're not those aren't filmed live. But they take 4 departments, generally speaking. There's no rule, but generally there's 4 departments. They spend about a half an hour. They'll bring in the department heads, the county executive, or somebody from her team is there. And it's a great chance to really listen to the county council and their questions, because they can't really raise the budget, but they can cut things out. And the county executive has proposed a budget that's $237 million, which is a little over a 10% increase. So you're looking at raises ranging from 5% to, there's been discussions of some people getting 20% raises, whether it's in the fire service or whether it's with collective bargaining. You get a chance to take it all in, and then get a recap that just allowed the council to say, well, if you're thinking this, we're thinking this. And it's a good public way for folks to see how the negotiations work.
Yeah, sort of like the organs of local government in action.
It is. It's not fancy, but at the same time, when you're talking about your tax dollars, this is your elected officials at work. And it's been great to see it.
What do you think, sir?
Yeah, you can gain a lot of information out of it. You can get very frustrated from it also.
Yeah.
And the fact that some of the things that they propose and talk about doing, and last Friday at the recap, I mean, we haven't passed the budget yet. And it's got to be done the second meeting in June. We haven't passed the budget yet, and in the recap, they're talking about, well, we'll come back in August and September with an amendment to the budget.
We've been here before.
Yeah, you know, so
talking specifically about the Verizon building.
Based on that list, if you all have that, would be the Verizon building. we want to revisit this or make sure we firm up what prior discussions we had. I believe the original idea from the last meeting was that, bless you, was that we were going to remove it until we felt there was more substantial means by which to validate making that type of a commitment of $3 million. Any comments?
Yeah, I just would like to make a comment. I've called around and got some information just generally about how to approach this process. And Steve, I'm looking at you, but, in lieu of the $495,000, which you admitted is a high price, I think we all would say that, and I'm sure that is 100% design. That's what that would indicate, and that's probably okay. We could probably shop it out and get a little lower. However, and I'm throwing this out as an idea. I'm not saying I've got the answer, but there is something much in between, and that is a conceptual design, or my friend in the contracting business, and you've heard of this, like a 25-30% design. I don't know what the price tag is, but it's much lower.
You got an addendum to the budget a month after you approved the budget, then apparently you didn't have your act together when you put the budget together.
But I also, mean, there's another side of this, and I feel Jim's frustration here, but I don't want to see him rush and start writing blank checks for health department renovation, and I know you don't either necessarily, but it's been a couple years and we don't have a good plan.
Right.
And when you hear that this could cost between $3.5 and $8.5 million,
Yeah, that's quite a
that's a
Yeah.
big delta. I mean,
So there is a conceptual design already done. The conceptual design, though, is kind of the highest level wish list. So we've already paid for that, and that's where we got the $8 million. There was an $8 million number for approximately to do the whole thing. And we're like, no, not happening. So we're back to the drawing board. We can go back and do another conceptual design with it cut back, because that was the design that he has shown kind of in the pictures where it's all the different. So again, we don't have a conceptual design of the current plan that we want to move forward with. So we can look at that. And again, I'm looking for council guidance as to what budget amendment you're looking for. If the budget amendment is $3 million, the budget amendment is $3 million. I just need to know what it is. We will do what the council is looking for at this point.
Well,
The plan should have been made, and it's just like the fire service. I mean, you've got the Salisbury Fire Department coming in there to address the council about the budget. The council can't do anything about the proposed budget for the Salisbury Fire Department.
they can't raise it anyway.
They can't raise it.
Well,
And-
you're talking about the debate between the executive and the mayor
yes.
in presenting it in front of the council about the fire service.
Yes. Well, I mean, the council cannot raise it, so
Right.
all they can do is approve
whatever,
it
yeah.
or recommend decreasing it. But there's no need of coming in there talking about it because they can't do anything about it.
So let's step back just for a minute, because you've gone into something I think is really important. So from your comments earlier, Joe, you stated that basically, in the broad sense, we're looking at this year about a 10% increase in the overall budget. The majority of that, as is always the case, tends to be personnel, right, in terms of
No,
work.
No.
well, I don't think so.
No, in terms of the...
No, you're talking mostly about a 5% increase. A lot of the increase is actually one-time capital expenses that
Okay.
are not being bonded.
Okay.
They're
Right,
actually
that's
being
good.
paid out of pay-go. I think this is actually a positive thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is actually, I think, how you want your county government to work. We brought in more money than we thought last year. We have some of these projects that are on the back burner.
And we're investing in them now.
We're investing in now. But to Jim's point, he's saying, and I agree with him,
Yeah.
you still need to have a solid plan.
Yeah.
It's frustrating that we're about to pass this budget and we still don't have it, but it sounds like they're going to pull some of it out and then add it back as an addendum, and I think that's
Yeah.
what he's frustrated at.
Okay, but to go back to Jim's concerns, because that's where I kind of wanted to sort of go with this conversation, because you've talked about sort of the broad macro trends with the budget, but you each have brought up specific concerns you have. So I guess if I'm asking as Joe Public to both of you as private citizens, what are your biggest concerns about the budget? Now, you brought up the fire service agreement, not so much as an issue with the budget, but the fact that it's sort of being brought into a budget session where it has no place.
Where it can't be that.
Where it can't be
the
done
council
anyway.
can't. My biggest problem,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Joe will get into a lot of the high dollar problems. This is my problem with this budget. and it's the same problem I had last year with this budget. You've got administrative people coming in there, and they're looking between 15 and 20% raises for these people.
Right.
They're giving the working employees 5%. So at the last council meeting or budget review on Friday, they agreed, okay, we're gonna max out the raises for the administrative people at 9%. Okay, that sounds good. Here's my problem. You're an administrative person. You're making $100,000 a year. You just got a $9,000 a year raise.
Yeah.
If you're the roads guy, the trash guy, or whatever out there working, and let's be generous, let's give them $50,000 a year raise.
Right.
They got a 5% raise. They got a $2,500 raise. Why is that person that's sitting in that office worth $9,000, and the person who's out there doing the physical labor and everything only worth $2,500? The gap between the two of them keeps expanding. Now the council did, to their credit,
Rein it in a little.
well, they talked about whether it be another Bolton study or another company besides Bolton coming in and getting these salary ranges straightened out. But you can't keep giving the higher end raises that are double what you're giving the working people.
I'm smirking only because you know where I work. So
Yeah,
I feel those.
It once or twice.
So it would seem.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Jay?
Well, my specific issue, especially when you talk about raises, is at times they've talked about giving the emergency services folks a raise higher than 5%, and look for where their starting salaries are. They do need this. I mean, I agree with giving our sheriff's department the money that they needed to recruit and retain people, but we're going to run into the other end, the dispatchers who send the sheriff's department and the ambulance there. I'm worried about them not having the resources they need to hire, train, and retain good people.
Yeah.
I don't want to see this turn into a political football. When you look back at the fire service agreement, and I'll tie this together here in a second, the mayor came in and talked about where he wanted the number. The county executive, she did what she needed to do, which was turn in her budget number on time. Okay. Yes, the mayor is talking to the council about, hey, I'm not happy with this number. But his message to the council was, if this is the number, whether you've done it, which they can't really control it, or it's the executive, we're not going to serve the county part of the Salisbury Fire District next year.
Yeah.
That gives me a concern.
Because
the mayor coming in and saying, if this is a number that you agree to,
get ready to.
fine, we will spend the next year teaching you how to transition,
Phasing out.
because we're not going to be there a year from now.
Right.
So then if you circle that back to Jim's point about the executive leadership getting 9% raises.
Yeah. Is this the time?
Well, hey, maybe it is, but let's make sure we have all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed. And I don't think you need to bring in someone like Bolton. I think it just takes someone with some business sense. And maybe some of this seems to be obvious to me because this is what I've done a lot on the golf course or in the restaurant business. And I know you've run your own business. But you have to at least address where your strengths and weaknesses are going to be and not just keep pushing them down the road.
Yeah.
And you know, they keep talking about performance evaluations. I don't know if this county has performance evaluations. I know they claim they do, but I also know that I did work in a county department for 5 years, and there was never an evaluation.
Like a formal one.
Yes, where
And that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, so everybody gets the same raise. You don't get something for being good. And
you're just giving a blanket
you're
bump
just
based on.
across. And I think I've always felt that if you're going to give a blanket percentage across the board, that you then need to go to some type of one-time bonus based off years of service. Whether it be 10 years, you get a certain amount of money, 15 years, you get reward the people for staying here. You've got to give them something.
I will tell you, I had a chance to listen to Sheriff Lewis speak at one event. He talked about how they have gone about it in the sheriff's office to give raises for promotions, and you get qualified on a 2-year cycle to be in the next round of promotions. Now, there may not be a job that comes up in that time, and you have to be recertified. If you're in, whether it's emergency services or public works, you want to make sure that your very best of employees, even if you do give blanket raises, are given those extra opportunities. And if we're not doing formal reviews, and there's outside of the sheriff's office, because it sounds like they are, then there's not an opportunity for that. As a taxpayer, I'm going to put my taxpayer hat back on. If we're going to talk about large increases into the operating budget, I want to make sure that we don't step into a structural deficit years from now.
Yeah.
We've seen this with the Moore administration.
Yeah. I think that's the concern that a lot of people have voiced as we look at the growth of the budget and capital projects, and that in relation to the state is, are we in good times until we're not? And
Yes.
then are those not good times very close?
It's called checkbook accounting.
Yeah.
And I've seen lots of good businesses go out of business because they did checkbook accounting. I have money in the bank, so I must be doing good.
Yeah.
Well, you are until you aren't, like you
Right.
said.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is obviously an issue that is yet to be finalized, and from what it sounds like, even after the budget's passed, it seems like we'll be in the season of addendums.
Well, you're going to be, because as Joe stated, we've got the Verizon building that after 2 years, there still is no plan. I mean, there's a pie in the sky plan for what they want to do, which is going to be $8 million, and the executive has already stated that she will not support that. So good for her on that. But you've got that. We've talked for over 2 years about the volunteer fire companies and the SWOT analysis. There's nothing in there for that.
Yeah.
You know,
They're not implementing it, and they're also not saying we're strategically not implementing it.
Yeah.
It's almost crickets, and that's frustrating because sometimes the strategy is to do nothing, but then you would state that our strategy is to do nothing.
Now, is that purely because of the fiscal situation, or is that just the politics of an election year?
I don't think our fiscal situation is going to get better than it is right now.
No.
at least
I agree
in
with
the
that.
bank.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yes.
If you're not going to do it now, you're basically saying you're not doing it. Now, but no one has said that either.
Right.
What I would tell the public out there is June 2nd is the next meeting. It's a 6 o'clock meeting. It's a nighttime
It's an
meeting.
evening,
If you have a chance, go on and watch these budget hearings. Call your county councilman, call the executive's office, and show up to that meeting. You get at least 3 minutes, and you'll probably get more and other opportunities to make your voice heard.
Yeah.
But don't let them work in an echo chamber because it's easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you for informing the public. You're always obviously some of the most diligent people in the county that focuses on issues that maybe other people don't always have the time to do. So I think it's a great service. But we're obviously going to see where this goes very soon.
Yep.
Speaking of people in the public, I do want to bring on one local taxpayer to get their perspective on it. So, Mr. Jim, can I kick you out? And I'm going to bring on Mr. Joe Scafino for a couple minutes and sort of get his perspective, especially as a city and county resident. Okay
I'm
with
going.
that? You going back to the west side for
I'm
it?
going. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. Joe, can you stick around with us for a minute?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, guys. All right. Appreciate the talk. Stick around. We'll be right back with our next segment of Open Agenda. Welcome back to Open Agenda. Sticking around with us from Parsonsburg, Mr. Joe White.
Thank you.
And coming back to us from Salisbury, another Joe, Mr. Joe Scafino.
How you doing?
Good. So we've been talking obviously about the budget, accounting, checkbook accounting, addendums, all fun stuff. Obviously, it's a county issue, but you're a city guy and a county guy, obviously. Mm-hmm. What do you make of the whole situation with where we've gone with the budget and the general process?
The process so far has been transparent. I mean, we've had the meetings. We've seen how the sausage is made. We may not agree with some of the flavors. For example, as Joe and Jim talked about earlier, the white collar guys and gals are getting 10% raises, and the people doing the work down in the trenches are getting much less.
And that's after they were adjusted through the counties.
Right.
And it hasn't been approved yet, but
Yeah.
that
Right.
that is kind of in the budget recap. That's where the council and the was letting the executives team know that's where they were leaning. Anyway.
And it's almost like you see this in the corporate world where the executives, the CEOs, 30, 40 years ago, they made, 3 or 4 times the average worker. Now they're making hundreds of times. The gap, and I think Jim mentioned that, the gap between the white collar guys in the office versus the guys in the street, it just keeps getting wider. And that, excuse me, in my opinion, that's wrong.
Well, it also brings up obviously issues of economics, but also morale, right? Because if you're one of those people that's been there in roads or public works or
Well, look, I mean,
health,
I'd challenge one other way of thinking too. Think about the technology that gets used in the public works department in 2026 versus 1990, and you needed bodies back in 1990. Now you need scientists. I mean, I had a chance to tour the landfill with Deputy Director Adam Corey over a year ago, and I'm an environmental science guy. That's my background. That's my passion. And I go in and I meet Alyssa, who was brought in to help out with their testing. And I mean, we weren't completely in the specifications from the state. Well, just imagine on a state highway or on the county highways, the guys and gals doing the work out there. It's much more technical. There's more OSHA requirements.
yeah,
So it's not just about having bodies; it's about having trained bodies.
trained bodies, yeah.
And replacement value of employees is definitely something you have to think about. Morale also is another one.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah.
Agreed.
But you were saying that you generally think that the process of how the budget hearings have gone has been effective as far as a member of the public to kind of see it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think transparency, which is always a big issue, for the most part.
Yeah.
We're getting a good
I would
picture.
agree. It's been much-
I think one of the things we overlook as like regular members of the public is that you have such, I don't even want to call it a privilege because really it's your right, I think, as a citizen and a taxpayer, but you do have the privilege of local government, of going to see it up close and then speaking about it. You can't really always do that at the state level and certainly at the federal level to say, here's where I think our priorities should be, or here's where my concerns are.
Yeah, I mean, look, disagreeing in a democracy is a privilege.
Yeah.
And I think this it's a wonderful opportunity to come up with the best plan, but we need to have all the cards on the table. And
Yeah.
and when they haven't been, and this very group here, we've fussed and fought over details not coming out till much later, and we still will.
Yeah.
But as Joe said, this budget process has been much more transparent. Even if you're frustrated by some of the lack of details in the capital improvement plan, it could be better.
Yeah.
But the progress is there.
I guess the question will be, how is this going to look in 4 or 5, well, probably maybe 5 or 6 months after the election passes, and we get a better sense as to what Maryland will be looking like in the coming year.
Look, I mean, we saw Chris Adams from the local delegation gave his update to the council first week of May, and right now on the table, you're looking at about a $3 billion with a B.
Yeah, I think it was
Structural-
3.2.
Yeah,
you said, yeah.
Structural deficit. So there's a difference between having a structural deficit, which basically means, hey, all of our obligations we already don't have enough money for, let alone anything extra. We're definitely not going to Disney World.
Right.
We're putting enough food on the table, and that's from the state.
Well, and one of the points he and others have brought up too is that there's concerns that the state may, for example, raise the sales tax. Well, to Jim's point about the blue collar workers who are only getting 5%, that's a regressive tax on a lot of those folks who are earning less, because now every time you go to a store, every time you buy anything, you're shelling out 2% more.
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because I'm a long-time Republican, and I don't understand why the folks in Annapolis. Sales tax is the most regressive tax known to me.
So we agree on something,
Yes,
regardless.
thank
But
goodness.
no,
And-
it's a
and-
tax
and they-
on
and they-
working people. Yeah.
Mostly 5%.
absolutely, yeah.
And why do they go to that? It just baffles me.
Well, I think they go to. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, I mean, it's not even a Republican Democrat issue.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
like you said, it's a regressive tax. And especially we're bordering a state with no sales tax, which makes it even worse because
Imagine
it's
being-
hurting the businesses.
Imagine being a business in Delmar right about
Exactly.
now.
That's what I'm. Exactly. That's my point.
Go look at the four corners of Delmar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have north, south, east, west, And there's 2 of them that are heavily populated with businesses and one that has shells of businesses.
Yeah.
And you don't have to guess which
Exactly.
side of the road.
Yeah.
So back into the county, at least our county, our conservative leadership, or our leadership, I should say, our leadership has given us a surplus and given us money in the bank. Yes, the state of Maryland is definitely going to be looking at us as low-hanging fruit, and we need to be cognizant of that as we make this next budget.
That's the concern, is I've yet to really hear at the county level discussion a worst case scenario. Like, maybe it's just because I have that sort of Catholic guilt of I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I would have liked to sort of, in those discussions, maybe see, just for my own edification, a more honest discussion of, like, what does a worst case scenario look like for Wycomico County if we factor in federal conditions and the state conditions, which we know are going to affect us. And maybe that's why the whole idea of the addendums has been talked about too, because I think even after this budget session, we're going to be haunted by the specter of what comes out of the higher authorities.
Definitely. I mean, look, we could definitely say there's some progress being made at the local level of transparency, but we haven't seen it from the state, so we have to at least plan for that.
Right.
And if we're not ready with a solid plan for things like the Verizon building, we should.
I think that's. Yeah.
We should wait till the plan's there. And if it's another year, fine. If it's 3 more months, then that discussion can happen then.
Yeah. I guess we'll see if it's sooner rather than later. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you again for being here talking about it. And again, we'll see where things go as they get finalized in the coming weeks. But again, thank you for helping to inform and educate the public.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching. We will be back very soon with another episode of Open Agenda. Take care.